The Bet Halevi, in his wonderful essays on the great concept of Bitachon Hashem, in Siman Lamed He, he talks about a level that is something that's the mafteach to every day of life, every challenge. Although the Bet Halevi, when he opens up this particular essay, he speaks about people looking for the shidduchim, people looking to marry off their children. But nonetheless, in truth, the technique and the great concept that he's about to introduce to us is applicable to every single challenge of life. Every goal, everything that man would want to go after and want to achieve, falls under this incredible concept that he's about to teach to us tonight, a higher level of bitachon, one that even the Baal HaBoteach can aspire to try to achieve. So tonight we're going to hit on big stuff. We're going to hit on something that's going to be not just the key to the room, but the master key to the entire hotel. This is a big one. Says the Bet Halevi, when a person wants a certain goal, he turns to Hashem and he says, Hashem, I know that you're the one and the only one that can deliver me this goal. I need a shidduch. You're the one that's going to deliver. I need parnasah. I know you're the one that's going to send it. I need refu'ah. You're the one that's going to heal. But then the person begins to start to ask Hashem to make his plan work on how to get to the final goal that he's looking to achieve. Hashem, please let the buyer call me back. Hashem, please let them accept my offer. Hashem, please let this shidduch come through. Hashem, I'm relying on you that they should come back and give me the exclusive on the house over any other broker. So I'm relying on Hashem. I'm boiteach that He is the one that's going to be the help to achieve my goals, but I'm asking Him and I'm relying on Him to bring about certain steps and certain stages to get me to my goal. Please, I'm relying on you to make my plan work. Says the Bet Halevi, yes, that is bitachon on a lower level. I'm relying on Him to make my plan bring me to the goal that I know He's going to achieve. But says the Bet Halevi, instead of relying on Hashem to make your plan work, better ask Hashem to show you His plan. Show me your plan, Hashem. And we're going to find out tonight that this all began with an incredible memoir that started with none other than the great Yaakov Avinu. And how he taught us that every challenge in life, we enter with a certain preconceived notion that things got to play out this way in order for me to get to the goal. And I'm relying on Hashem to bring me these steps and stages to get me to that goal. And Hashem says, wait one second. I really need those things to happen to give you the desired result. I really need to play it by your game. Maybe you rely on me to play it by mine. Where does this begin? Listen to this. This is amazing. Says the Bet Halevi, a great chidush that many people don't know. One of the most famous pirakim in Tehillim. Esa einai el ha'arim, me'ayin yavo ezri. Me'ayin yavo ezri. I raise my eyes to the mountains. Me'ayin yavo ezri. I raise my eyes to the heavens. Where is the help going to come from? How am I going to get this Yeshua? Do you know who said this? Now, if you ask most people, they would tell you, well, it's a Perek in Tehillim. It was probably stated by David HaMelech, or maybe later on in Tehillim. It already came after Kapitel Ayin Bet. So maybe it was already from the portion of Asaf, or maybe the other Mishorerim that took part in the 150 Perakim of Tehillim. But in truth, the Midrash doesn't say that. The Bet Halevi in Siman Lamed He brings the great Midrash that tells us that the author of Esa Einai El Ha'arim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri was none other than Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu was the one that said these venerable words. And you need to know a little background to appreciate, understand what Yaakov Avinu was saying at the time of these magnificent words. This was the time, says the Midrash, Yaakov was on the way to the house of Lavan. And he was on his way to find the shidduch, to find Rachel Imenu. Says Yaakov Avinu, how am I going to show up to this house without a penny? My grandfather, Abraham Avinu, when he sent Eliezer to go get a shidduch for my father Yitzchak, he sent him with 10 camels, laden with jewelry, with gold, with silver, with riches, fantastic wealth. An amazing dowry was sent to the house of Lavan and Betuel for the hand of Rivka in marriage. My grandfather, his servant Eliezer, shows up to Lavan with 10 camels of unbelievable wealth. And I'm showing up now to Lavan without a nickel, without a penny, with no money at all. We all know what took place. We know that Yaakov Avinu, when he left his house on the way to Lavan, Eliphaz caught up, was told by his father Esav to kill Yaakov. Eliphaz, at one hand, did not want to break the words of his father, Kibud Avaim, but on the other hand, did not want to kill Yaakov either, because he knew that Yaakov was righteous. So what did he do? He got a great etzah from his uncle. Ani hashiv kamet. Instead of killing him, rob him of every last morsel, every dollar, every penny, even his clothing. Even his clothing he took. Yaakov Avinu had to jump into the water. He had nothing on his body. And he left him penniless. Ani chashiv kemet. And that was the way he was mekayim his father's words of actually killing Yaakov Avinu. But it was at that point that Yaakov Avinu now is coming, just with his stick, his staff, and the clothing on his back to the house of Lavan. You know the famous Medrash that Rashi cites, that when Yaakov Avinu showed up to the house of Lavan, Lavan hugged him and kissed him. But really he was frisking him, and he was going through even his mouth to see maybe he has a diamond, a jewel, gold, something hidden somewhere in the crevices of his body, just to see what he's coming with. That's who we're dealing with here. That's Lavan. And Yaakov Avinu knew that. And he says to himself, how am I going to show up to the house of Lavan without a penny, thinking that I'm going to get my shidduch? And there are the words. Shidduch is ezer kenegdo. Let's not forget. Ezer kenegdo. A wife is called an ezer. And these are the words. Says the Midrash. Esainai el-Ha'arim, says Yaakov Avinu, what's going to be? Me'ayin yavo ezri, ezer kenegdo. How am I going to get my ezer? How am I going to get my shidduch? Me'ayin. From where is the money going to come from? That I could have a dowry like Eliezer, who originally came to the house of Lavan to get the hand of my mother Rivka in marriage for Yitzchak with a magnificent dowry of money. Me'ayin yavo ezri. Where am I going to get that dowry from in order to get my ezer kenegdo, in order to get my shidduch? Because I need something. And he's, I'm going to rely on Hashem. Maybe he'll send me the money from a treasure that I'll find. Or maybe he'll send me the money from someone who'll walk up and give me this great deal. Or who knows where. But I need this in order to get that. I'm relying on Hashem. We're talking here about Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu, the great Baal Bitachon. He was relying completely on Hashem. Hashem, I just want to know how you're going to pull it off. How are you going to bring me the dowry so that I can step up to my Ezri, my Ezer Kenegdo, to get the Shidduch, the way Eliezer got the hand of Rivka Imenu with 10 camels. And then says the Bet Halevi, Yaakov Avinu stops and he catches himself and he's mitcharet and he says, Hashem needs to send me money in order for me to get a shidduch? Hashem can give me the shidduch without having to send me the money. He can give me the shidduch direct, without having any steps or any stages, any intermediary actions or phases in order to get me the result that I need. Hashem doesn't need to give me money in order to get me married. He can give me the shidduch without the money. Ezri me'im Hashem. My ezer is from Hashem. Oseh shamayim va'aretz. Just like the way Hashem created heaven and earth. He created the world. Yesh me'ayin. something from nothing. He didn't need to make certain steps and stages to come about in the way of any preconceived intermediary type of things to get a final result. What we call in English a cause and effect. He did not need to make any cause to bring about the effect of the result. He created the world just like that, direct, straight from him. Yesh me'ayin. Hashem said, let there be a world, and that's what took place. Shamayim va'aretz. If that's the case, Hashem does not have to deliver what I think are the gorem and the sibot, the causes to bring about the effect. He can give it to me directly. Ezri me'im Hashem oseh shamayim va'aretz. And that's exactly what took place. And Rabotai, if you open your hearts, you'll realize that this is amazing. Not only did Hashem show Yaakov Avinu that all your cheshbonot of what you thought needs to happen in order to bring about the results that you're relying on me for don't need to happen. I can bring it to you without those cheshbonot happening. I can bring it to you without the buyer calling you back. I can bring it to you without you getting the exclusive on the house. I can bring it to you without you getting the doctor that you waited months to get that appointment. I can bring you the results without your plan playing out. Says Borei Olam, I have a better plan in mind. Stick with me. Don't rely on your plans. Rely on mine. And that's the beauty. And this is an amazing vart that we find in the Malbim. The Malbim says, Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach Bashem. But that's not just enough. He doesn't just believe that Hashem is the one that's going to bring him the result. No! V'haya Hashem mivtacho. Not only are you going to bring me the results, but you're going to get me there as well. Hashem, you're not only the master of my result, you're also the master of my plan. V'haya Hashem mivtacho. Hashem is his intermediary, and Hashem is his gomer. Hashem, it's all you from beginning to end. And this were the stages that Yaakov Avinu, on the way to the house of Lavan, was kind of translating to us. The way every person goes through challenges in life. And the Bet Halevi writes a very interesting line. Listen to these words. He says, Hine ze teva ha'adam. This is the nature of man. Gam yiyem boteach. He is relying on Hashem to help him to get the desirable goal. But the nature of man is to be a control freak. We are control animals. Sheyachkor b'sichlo be'eze ofen yasig hadavar nitzlach lo. The normal of man is that we're always constantly trying to figure out and think, what is the best plan? What needs to happen in order for me to get the desirable result? How is he going to do this? How is Hashem going to bring this about for me? Oh, it has to be, it's going to happen this way. Hashem, please, let me be the one that my offer will be accepted. Let me be the one to be matzliach in having the best deal on the table. And at the end of the day, Hashem says, whose plan you want to go with? If you want to go with your plan, then we're stuck to your plan. But if you want to go with my plan, then you're not stuck to anything. The abilities and the options are opened incredibly. Says Borei Olam, I don't want you to just be Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach B'Hashem. I also want you to be, says the Malbim, V'haya Hashem mivtacho. Let me not just be my closer. I don't want to just be your closer. I want to be your plan as well. And this is an amazing idea. Ezri me'im Hashem, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Think about this for a minute. This is something that's novel. Yaakov Avinu, he thought that only with the dowry and the money that he needs to show up with to Lavan is he going to get a shidduch. And Hashem shows him, I can give you a shidduch without a penny in your pocket. Not only that, you thought that with money you're going to get one shidduch. I'm going to show you that without a penny, and I'm going to give you 4 shidduchim. I'm going to give you more than you ever thought your plan could have ever brought about. Stick with my plan instead and look at the results that I'm going to give you far well beyond of anything that you thought possible that you could have imagined. And Rabotai, if you think about it, it's unbelievable. Yaakov Avinu, if he would have showed up to the house of Lavan with money, he would have gotten Rachel. But that's it. That's it. Just like by Rivka. Lavan was all about money. Lavan, Betuel, we saw from the story of Eliezer, he had to show up with millions of dollars just to make this work. But once he paid for it, although they tried to kill him in the process, they tried to poison Eliezer. But once he paid for it, he took Rivka and he was able to bring her back to Yitzchak Avinu. Yaakov would have showed up with 10 camels of money. They might have tried to kill him, like they did with Eliezer, kill him for the money. But even if he would have survived that, he would have came home with the girl he paid for, with Rachel Imenu. Hashem says, I have a better plan. A plan that's later on going to be the seeds of the Shivtei Yudke, the Shivtei Ka. I want there to be a Klal Yisrael. I want there to be 4 imahot, 2 imahot and 2 shefahot. In order to make that plan work, my plan work, you need to show up with no money. And therefore, at first, Yaakov Avinu was under the impression, Me'ayin yavo Ezri. How am I going to get my shidduch? I know you're going to bring it to me, Hashem. That is no question. But from where are you going to bring me the money so I can show up with the dowry to get my shidduch? And then Yaakov Avinu says, wait 1 second. That's my plan. Let me go with Hashem's plan. Ezri me'im Hashem. My shidduch doesn't come from the money. My shidduch comes from Hashem. Oseh shamayim v'aretz. He could make things happen. Yesh me'ayin. And what's amazing is, like the Brisker Rav used to say, always, time and time again, and I quote from the Brisker Rav, this is something fantastic. Listen to these words. HaYeshua ba'a tamid mimakom acher. The Yeshua always comes from a place that's least expected. You're making cheshbonot and plans that this has to happen and that has to happen, and then I can finally get what I need. It turns out that 9 out of 10 times, what you end up needing comes to you from a place that you never thought possible. Makom asher lo chashvu al zeh bichlal. The words of the Brisker Rav. The Shu'ah generally comes from a place that you never thought was possible to be able to get such a Yeshua. You know, they say over on the Brisker Rav something amazing, that when he opened up the Brisker Kolel in Jerusalem, and he was thinking, how is he going to pay the Avrechim every month? Listen to the line of the Brisker Rav. Amru Hagriz, listen to this line, that there was never a month that in the beginning of the month he knew where the money was coming from to pay the Avrechim for that month. And there was also never a Rosh Chodesh that he didn't pay the Avrechim on time. Did you hear that? I want to say that again. There was never a month that in the beginning of the month he knew where the money was coming from that month to be able to pay all the Avrechim in the Kolel. And there was never a Rosh Chodesh that he didn't have the full money to pay all his Avrechim on time. No cheshbonot. The only cheshbon that I have is you, Abba. Kagamul ale imo. Says the Vilna Gaon, David HaMelech achieved an amazing level, one of the highest levels ever achieved by a man when it comes to the great levels of Bitachon B'Hashem. He literally was like the infant in the arms of its mother. Kagamul ale imo. Kitinok sheyonek meshede imo. It's like the infant, the baby, that is suckling from his mother's milk. I'm in my mother's arms. Does the baby worry about where he's getting his next meal? No. Does the baby worry about who's going to clean him up when he has to relieve himself? No. Does the baby worry about who's going to put him to sleep at night? Does the baby worry about anything? No worries. The baby is complete calm. He cries and he gets what he needs because he knows that he's nestled in his mother's arms. David HaMelech was a relationship of the height of bitachon. He compared his connection and his reliance on Hashem like an infant in the arms of his mother. Abba, ani bayadayim shelcha, Abba. Ani bayadayim shelcha. I am ready to surrender all my control to you. I am not in control. You're absolutely in control. When we make a plan and we are stubborn about our plan to work, I want it to happen my way. I'm going to dictate to Hashem how to get these results. And I'm going to come in with a preconceived notion. What we don't realize is that's a control mechanism. I want it to happen. I'm relying on you to make it happen, but I want you to make it happen this way. Says Hashem, relax. Relax. Ma titz'ak elai. Daber b'nei Yisrael v'yisa'u. That's exactly what took place by Kriyat Yam Suf. What took place by Kriyat Yam Suf is that there were 4 kitot, 4 different groups. They saw that behind them, Paro and the army was charging and they were chasing them. In front of them, a Yam Suf. They were sandwiched. They start to scream, Hashem, help! Says the Zohar HaKadosh, 4 different groups. And each group screamed a different way that they were begging Hashem to save them. Each one had a different mahalach of how Hashem should save them from the moment of their tzarot. And Hashem says, Ma titz'ak elai. Why are you telling me how to save you? Daber el bnei Yisrael v'yisa'u. Drop your plans and go with my plan. Because my plan is going to be much better. It's going to be a plan. It's going to be a direction. It's going to be an option you don't even know possible. Like the Brisker Rav told us, Hayishu'ah tamid ba mimakom acher. The Yeshua generally comes from a place that you never expected. You wouldn't believe how Hashem closes deals in ways that you never thought would have happened. You wouldn't believe how Hashem makes shiduchim in ways that you never believed you'd bump into this person. You never believe who would be the one to introduce you to the one that you're going to spend a lifetime with. You wouldn't believe how Hashem sends rifuot to people. Sometimes it's not the biggest doctor in the industry that Hashem decided is going to be the shaliach to send you a rifu'ah that you didn't think was possible unless you went to what they told you was the best of the best. Hashem says, listen, you could hold on to your plan, but if that's the case, you're stuck in your plan, and that's all you'll get from me. But if you want more, and if you want bigger, and if you want something that's limitless instead of living in the world of limited, then drop your plans and rely on me to deliver you the plan that's much better than anything you've ever thought. And this was Yaakov Avinu. At first, Yaakov says, Ezri, my shidduch, me'ayin. Where is it going to come from? I'm showing up without a penny. I have no dowry. Eliezer came with millions of dollars from my mother's hand in marriage. And I'm coming to Lavan without a penny. Me'ayin yavo Ezri. Where's the Ezri going to come from? And then he turns around and he says, am I relying on Hashem to do my plan? My plan is that the only way to get a shidduch is with money. Is that what's going to make the shidduch happen? Says Yaakov Avinu, let me drop my plan. Hashem can send me a shidduch, and it's not totally in the money, and it's not totally in any of the intermediary or preconceived notions that every human being enters problems with. And the Bet Halevi says it's in our nature to do so. It's the teva ha'adam, that when we're faced with a challenge, we cannot let go of the control button. We need to be the one to hold on to that control. We're going to tell Hashem how it should happen. We're going to tell Hashem how we want it to play out. Sheyachkor b'sichlo be'eze ofen yasig hadavar hanitzrach lo. We can't stop analyzing in our minds how we believe this thing should take place. And we're going to rely on Hashem to deliver us the steps, the stages, to get to the results. Hashem says, I don't need your plans. I have a better plan. And that's what happened by the Yam Suf. And that's what happened by Yaakov Avinu. Hashem says, Yaakov, you think I need to give you money for you to get your shidduch? Watch. With money, you'd end up with 1. Without money, you'll end up with 4. With money, you'll end up with Rachel. Without money, you'll end up alive. The last guy that showed up to the house of Lavan with money, they tried to kill him. You want to show up to that house with money? Your value now is without money. Because with money, they're going to try to kill you for the money. Without money, the only way they can get money out of you is to make you work for 14 years. So now the value to them is in you living, not dying. It's much better for you to show up to this house without money. Stick with my plan, not with your plan. I know better what's going on than you. Rely on me to give you the Ezer Kinegdo, but with the plan that Borei Olam is going to put together, and not with the plan that you preconceived. And this is applicable in every step and every challenge in life. Think about it for a minute. Leah cried her eyes out. Ve'ene Leah rakot. Leah was the girl that showed us that through the tefillot and the dma'ot, she conquered the house. She literally conquered the house. She was originally supposed to go to Esav. Who was supposed to come out of her? Eliphaz? Chas v'shalom. Amalek? Chas v'shalom? Who came out of Esav? Could you imagine Leah would have been the mother of that home? No, so you'll tell me with such a tzaddiket, maybe Eliphaz and Amalek would have been other people. It could be, but at the end of the day, Esav was going to be the nemesis of Klal Yisrael. That's what happened by the night of Birkat Yitzchak Avinu. Yaakov was given Shamayim va'aretz, and what was left for Esav? Esav now was going to be the challenger of Torah, the challenger of Yiddishkeit, of Judaism. So he's going to be destined to have children, Rishaim. He's going to one day have a Haman. He's going to one day have all the Rishaim to challenge the Jewish people, because now that's his tafkid, no matter who he marries. Could you imagine if Leah ends up being the mother of these people? She cried her eyes out and she changed the cosmos. With her tefillot and her dma'ot, she changed her destiny. And those tefillot turned the world upside down. Says Borei Olam, no, Yaakov Avinu, you can't show up to the house of Lavan with money, because then you're coming in with power. They can't play with you at that point. They can't switch the wives on you at that point. You'll only end up with a Rachel, but 4 imahot of Klal Yisrael you'll never get. Stick with my plan. We need a Shiftei Ka. Oh, so you're going to tell me, let all 12 come out of Rachel. That wasn't Hashem's cheshbon. You saw how difficult it was for Leah to have one child, let alone 12. There was a cheshbon here in Shamayim. We don't know the cheshbonot of Shamayim. But one thing was clear. Hashem wanted 4 imahot. Hashem wanted the Shiftei Ka to come about, spread across from 4 mothers. Each one delivering a different flavor of Klal Yisrael. So Klal Yisrael will have diversity. Because there's strength in diversity and unity at the same time. And if that's the case, it's amazing now. Says Borei Olam, Yaakov Avinu, don't show up with the money. You'll end up now working. And when you work for Lavan, he's your boss. He has a certain shlita over you. And now he feels that he can get his way with you. Now he's going to switch the brides on you. Something he could never have done if you showed up with a business deal of money. Because then he needs you. You don't need him. Now I can have the Maisa of Rachel and Leah. Now I can have Rachel Mivaka al Baneha to be a zechut later on for Klal Yisrael to come back in a Geula Shalema. Now I can have a Shiftei Ka coming out from 4 mothers outside of just one wife, and who knows then how Klal Yisrael can come about. Why go with your plan when I can deliver you my plan with such bigger results? Me'ayin yavo Ezri! I need money to get my shidduch. No, Ezri me'im Hashem. The shidduch comes from Hashem. I can give you 4 shidduchim with no money and the 12 tribes of Klal Yisrael. Drop your cheshbonot. Drop your preconceived notions. Let go of the control and give it over to Borei Olam. Literally the words of David HaMelech, Kegamul ale imo. I am like an infant in my mother's arms, with no da'agot, with no worries, completely relying on Borei Olam. So like the guy asks, Rabbi, so I'm coming into a deal now. What, I should just sit back and do nothing? No. Of course you need to do your ishtadlut. Your ishtadlut is to do the norm and the necessary from what this deal requires, but to realize that at the time that you're doing the normal and the necessary, that which you're doing has no effect on the results that are going to come out. You're doing what you need to do to create a camouflage so that when Hashem succeeds the deal, it doesn't look like a miracle. Because Hashem does not like doing miracles. I simply created the camouflage. Some people call it I created the keli to now receive the beracha and the shefa that I'm relying only on Hashem to bring. This is a tremendous idea. And that was the message of Kriyat Yam Suf. Ma titzak elai. Why are you screaming to me to tell me how to save you? Daber b'nei Yisrael v'yisau. Tell the people to enter the water. Tell the people, drop your plan, go with mine, and you'll see that the results are much bigger. Hashem, help me to succeed in this deal. I'm relying on you to make things happen, to succeed the deal in a big way. I'm doing my hishtadlut. I'm doing the normal and the necessary, but it's all in your hands. Bayadayim shelcha Abba. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm not telling you when to do it. I'm not telling you who to do it through. It doesn't have to be this offer. It doesn't have to be that lawyer. It doesn't have to be this buyer. It's you that's going to set it up. I'm following you. Daber el b'nei Yisrael v'yisau. Me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Hashem. Hashem can deliver you the results without those steps and stages that you're counting on in the middle to happen, to bring about what you think should happen. This is a very big idea. A very big concept. Wow. And I tell you the truth, that we're living in times now that there's such a choshech in the world. And so many people are going through so much difficulty. And everybody wants to know, where's the Yeshua going to come from? Me'ayin yavo Ezri. And we have so many preconceived calculations in our minds that need to happen in order to get the results that we're looking for. And Hashem says, I'm waiting for you to drop the control. Surrender the control to Borei Olam and rely on me, says Borei Olam. And I will help you. And I will do things and bring about the results in a much bigger way. But rely only on me and my plan. Like the Malbim says, not just Baruch HaGever Asher Yivtach B'Hashem. You know who the Baruch is? He's not just a person that relies on Hashem to bring the results. But rather, V'haya Hashem Mivtacho. He's relying on Hashem to be the plan that's going to bring about the results as well. He's not the one that's going to finish it only. He's the one that's going to do it all, from beginning to end. I'm relying completely on you. Every step, I'm following you. Nasev and Ishma. Like my Rebbe always tells me, Rabbi Shalom Rabinovich, anytime on the phone we're talking about an issue or a problem, he says to me, let's daven right now together on the phone. Yancheni b'magle tzedek. Hashem, you guide me through your steps. I'm not going to tell you what steps that I want to happen. You tell me what steps need to happen in order to get the incredible results of the Yeshua that I know only you can deliver for me. And time again, the moment you release control and you stop harping on your own preconceived notions of what you think needs to happen to bring about the results, and you give it up to Borei Olam. Let him run it. Let him do it from beginning to end. You'll find out that suddenly things start happening. Wild things from places that you didn't think possible. Like Kriyat Yam Suf. Did anyone imagine that there was such an option? Did anyone think that from box number 1, box number 2, box number 3, we're going to fight Paro, we're going to surrender to Paro, we're going to negotiate with Paro? Hashem says, would you stop already? Would you stop coming up with these crazy ideas? Ma titzak elai. Stop telling me how to save you. Daber b'nei Yisrael v'yisau. Follow me. Let me show you a better plan. A plan that you never thought was possible. Go into the water. The water? Are you joking? Yeah, I'm not joking. Go into the water. You're about to find out that the greatest show on earth is about to take place. Something that you never believed can be the greatest Yeshua for Klal Yisrael. The moment that Paro and all your problems are about to disappear forever. And that was the lesson of Yaakov Avinu. Ezri me'im Hashem oseh shamayim va'aretz. The Yeshuah, the Shidduch, the wealth, the Hatzlacha, it comes directly from Hashem. The way He made shamayim va'aretz. Yesh me'ayin. He can make it happen for you as well. Stop dictating to Him how to run the world. Just follow Him. Na'aseh v'nishma. That's what made us such a great people. That's what made us Klal Yisrael. It was the moment that we said Na'aseh v'nishma, that Hashem chose us as His people. That was the deal maker. And anyone that comes up with their own plans falls into the deal breaker. We said Na'aseh before Nishma. We're ready to do it without cheshbonot. Hashem says, let your cheshbon be my plan. Make my ratzon your ratzon. Make my cheshbon your cheshbon. Hashem, I'm relying on you to pull this off in the way that you see the best way to pull this off. And I know you're going to deliver me in an amazing way. Kagamul ale imo, I'm in your hands. Ani bayadayim shel Abba. You want to hear something funny, Cheskel? I was just in Eretz Yisrael recently, and I was there by the Kotel on Shabbat. And I'm walking back after Mincha to the tent in the back where they have that big Su'udat Shalishit, that big Shalashud is there. And I walk into a tent, and in the back of the tent there was a bunch of guys from Florida, Montreal, learning all of these. Say that's the beauty of Israel. You can have guys from all over the world learning in the same yeshiva together. And all these guys were sitting in the back of the tent, and they were just hacking around, talking, schmoozing, singing a little bit. Typical Sudat Shalishit between Bachrim. And one guy recognized me. He said, "Hey, Rabbi Duvi, come over here." He schlepped me to the back, sat me down. This guy was a real shaker and baker, this guy. He says, Rabbi, give us a few words. And I started to talk to him. And we sat there for a good 45 minutes. And we were steiging together, mechazik each other, talking about the priceless moments that the Bachur, that a guy has in Eretz Yisrael while he's learning there, without any da'agot, without any worries, and how he has to take these moments to the bank and not let the Yetzer Hara be mefasfes and mevazvez these moments, because you're never going to get it back again. This is a time that's so precious. I told the guys, I said, if there was ever a time in my life that I'd look to go back to get another drink out of it, to get another little bit out of it, to kvetch out of it a little bit more juice. If there was ever a time period of my time that I'd be able to go back to, that I could get just a little bit more of, it would have been those years as a Bachur in Eretz Yisrael, learning. Oh, those years at the time, you don't know how precious they are. And after we finished the whole shmooze and we sang our hearts out right there overlooking the Kotel, we all, very on a high, started making our way back to the wall to pray Arbit at the end of Shabbat. And as we're going there, this guy stops. And he makes a circle between the guys. And he says, Rabbi, let's go arm in arm for a minute. We go into a huddle. And he says, can you give us one Abba? Can you just give us one? Ari shoeg, mir lo yira. Just give us one roar, one Abba, right here. He says, we're standing at the wall. We want to hear it from you. We want to hear it live. Just give us one Abba. I said, guys, we're standing here in front of Abba's house. We're knocking on the stones and we're begging to be let back home. Let's close our eyes for a minute. We're on a high. And on three, let's scream Abba. And he's going to hear us. And mamish on three. These 8 guys, we were all arm in arm in a huddle. We all screamed, Abba! And I'm telling you, we shook together. And it felt so good to be by Yadayim Shel Abba. It felt so good. After that, no one had to say a word. We just looked at each other. We broke out the huddle, walked back to the wall, and prayed in our beat like it was ne'ilah, like it was nobody's business. When you put yourself in that matziv, when you're the infant in the arms of Abba, in the arms of a mother, when you're a baby in your mother's arms, there's no worry. There's no cheshbonot, there's no calculations. There's just me and Abba, na'aseh v'nishma. I'm relying on you completely and no one else. And no one else. And that's what Chazal tell us. Mordechai and Esther, they knew that as long as Esther was in the castle, as long as Mordechai was close to Esther, the queen at that time of the land, they knew that Klal Yisrael was still relying on Mordechai, his connections, and Esther, her royalty of the seat of queen, in order to get a Yeshua. And because of that, they went and did something incredibly aggressive. Mordechai went and put on sak va'efer. He put on sackcloth. He put on all different types of ashes. He went screaming through the streets. Everyone understood that once you dress up like that in sak va'efer, you're not allowed to go to Sha'ar HaMelech. Oy vey, the one guy that we were relying on, with the hookup, with the protexia, with the connections, our man in office. And now he puts himself in a matziv that he's not allowed near the king nor the castle. We can't rely on him anymore. Who are we going to rely on? That's exactly what Mordechai wanted. Don't you dare rely on me. Al tivtechu b'ndibim beben adam she'en lo teshua. Rely on Abba and no one else. He's not only your results, he's your plan too. He's your plan. Not only your results, but he's also your plan. Baruch HaGever asher yiftach b'Hashem. No, he's not just your results. V'haya Hashem mivtacho. He's the one that's going to get you there as well. He's the plan. And Esther did the same thing. Esther HaMalka, Chazal tell us, she invited Haman to a party so Klal Yisrael should literally fall to pieces. Oh no! They got her too. We lost her. Our girl, the queen, we thought we'd rely on her clout. We thought we'd rely on her influence on the king. Haresh is the queen. And now she's rubbing elbows, so to speak, chas v'shalom. But she's now warming up to Haman, the enemy of Klal Yisrael, the Sonei HaYehudim. We lost our girl in the castle. Who do we have left? We have no one left. And that's exactly why Esther did it. And you want to hear something amazing? The moment that Klal Yisrael let go of their reliance on Esther because she invited Haman to the party, that was the moment of the Yeshua. It was at that party that the tables turn and Haman goes from the one that's the best friend of the king, that's dictating Has v'Shalom Klaya to Klal Yisrael, and instead at that very party when we gave up on Esther and we turned now only to Hashem, that was the party that we thought was going to be our downfall, became the party of our Yeshua. That was the party that Ahashverosh gets incredibly angry, comes in and sees Haman, Nofel ala mita. And that's the moment that he has Haman hung. The moment we can drop all the preconceived notions, let our plans go, relinquish control. And this is not easy. But once we can let go and say, you know what, Abba? It's all you. You're the only one that can get me there, and you're the only one that can do it, period. That's the moment that we find incredible Yeshuot. And these days especially. These days, Rabotai, is unbelievable. We're living in such darkness. We're living at the end of the dark, the end of the Galut. I want to introduce you to a quick idea. The Gemara in Bitachon tells us that the night is split up into three. The famous Shita of Rabbi Eliezer in the first Mishnah of Shas. And Rabbi Eliezer tells us that you can say Kriyat Shema until the end of the first Ashmorah, to teach you that the night is set up into three Ashmoret, three different parts, so to speak, three different watches. The first watch, says the Gemara, is Chamor Noer. That's the donkey that brays. The second watch is the Klavim that bark. And then the third watch of night is the tinok that is yonek b'shedeh imo. Amazing. Ches, can you do me a favor? Can you tell these guys that to wait for me downstairs in the basement? Tell them I'm coming down. To everyone, go downstairs to the basement. The night is split up into three parts. Says Rabbi Eliezer, these three ashmoret corresponds to the three watches in heavens of the angels. The first ashmoret we mentioned is chamor noer. The second ashmoret is klavim tzoakim. And the third ashmoret is the baby, tinok sheyonek mishedeh imo. Says the Ben Ish Chai something fantastic. The night is galut. The three ashmoret is the three times that Hashem is shoeg. Hashem roars three times at night over the Churban of the Bet HaMikdash. Says the Ben Ish Chai, the three times that Hashem roar is keneged the three Batei Mikdash of Klal Yisrael. He roars over the first Bet HaMikdash being destroyed, the first ashmoret, and that's why it's depicted as the chamor noer. Chamor is like the blessing of Yisachar. Chamor garem. That's Torah. Because we didn't have the proper respect and we did not have the proper conviction for Torah, we lost the first Bet HaMikdash. Alma avda aretz, al ozva metorati. And then the second Bet HaMikdash was destroyed. That's the second ashmoret that Hashem roars in the heavens. And that is symbolized by klavim tzoakim. Klavim tzoakim, says the Chafetz Chaim, is the people that speak lashon hara, the dogs that bark. Kol ha-misaper lashon hara, the famous Gemara. Kol ha-misaper lashon ra'ui lashlicham le-klavim. They're worthy to be thrown to the dogs. And because of that, the second ashmoret of the night, Hashem cries over the destruction of the second Bet HaMikdash. But that's symbolized by klavim tzoakim. The second Bet HaMikdash was destroyed because of the misaprei lashon hara. That's why today, the tikkun to get out of this is shmirat lashon. And then the third ashmoret, which is going to bring the third Bet HaMikdash, the coming of Mashiach, is symbolized as the tinok sheyonek mishedeh imo. Says the Ben Ish Chai, when Mashiach comes, every Jew is going to be yonek directly from Hashem. He's going to get shefa directly from the Shechina, like a baby that suckles from the milk of his mother. Every single Jew is going to be davuk directly in Hashem. He's going to be yonek shefa directly from the Shechina HaKdosha, from Ima. Ima is always the Shechina. The Shechina HaKdosha. Amazing. I was thinking to myself, the third ashmoret, said the Ben Ish Chai, is the end of Galut, right before Mashiach comes. What's the symbol of that ashmoret? What's the symbol of that watch? Ketinok sheyonek mishedeh imo, a baby, an infant that's feeding from his mother. Wait 1 second. Wasn't that also the example that David HaMelech used describing his level of bitachon in Hashem? Doesn't that describe to you? David HaMelech says that he relied on Hashem like an infant that is suckling in the arms of his mother, that's suckling from her milk. Kagamul ale imo. And if that's the case, you know what the Gemara is hinting to you? That in the third ashmoret, at the end of Laila, at the end of the Galut, in the final watching before the coming of Mashiach, you know what the avodah of Klal Yisrael is? Ketinok sheyonek mishedeh imo. Kagamul ale imo. To be so reliant on Hashem, like an infant in his mother's arms, suckling directly from Borei Olam. Hashem, you're not just the one who's going to bring the results. You're the one that's my plan as well. It's all and only you. Ani bayadayim shel Abba, from the beginning to end. Don't ask Hashem to make your plan work. Ask Hashem to show you his plan. Ezri meim Hashem. Oseh shamayim va'aretz, says Yaakov Avinu. You don't need money to get married. You need Borei Olam to get married. You don't need a doctor to get better. You need Borei Olam to get better. You don't need the deal to go through to become wealthy. You need Borei Olam to make you matzliach. Ask Him not just for the results, but ask Him to deliver the results as well. It's on your terms. Ma titzak elai. Stop telling me how to save you, says Borei Olam. Daber el b'nei Yisrael v'yisau. Follow me. Rely on me. Did I ever let you down? Didn't I bring you this far? Don't I have some credit by you? Could you stop dictating to me how to bring about what you need? Let me do it for you. Says the great Rabbi Scheinberg, Rabbi Chaim Scheinberg, Zechet Tzadik L'Bracha. He says people make their parnasah more difficult than it needs be because they're not ready to let go of their plans. They're making it more difficult to make parnasah because they're too stubborn to let their control go. If they could only let go of the control and give it up to Borei Olam, he says, their parnasah would be so much better. Their shidduch would be so much quicker. Their shalom bayit would be so much better. Stop dictating what she should be. Start dictating what you can be. As long as you just follow Borei Olam. This was Reb Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg. He used to say constantly. This is the reason why it's Kashin Zivugan Kikriyat Yamsuf. Kashin Parnasatan Kikriyat Yamsuf. Kashin. Is anything difficult for Hashem? Hayad Hashem tiksar. Hashem can do anything. What is this kashin? Kashin means it's difficult. It's difficult to give you parnasah. It's difficult to give you shidduch. It's difficult to give you a house. Is it difficult to give you health? It's difficult because you made it difficult. Because you don't want to let go of your control. And you're holding Hashem and trying to fit the infinite into your finite, tiny little brain of plans. Says Borei Olam, please, do yourself a favor. Let go of your preconceived notions of the way you think things need to run. Drop the plans, drop the control. Ma titzak elai. Stop telling me how to run things. Please, daber el b'nei Yisrael v'yisau. Follow me, and your parnasah will be easier. Follow me, and your parnasah will be berevach. Follow me, and your yeshuot will be quick to come. Throw yourself in my hands. Hashlech al Hashem yahavcha, v'hu yichalkalecha. Throw onto Hashem your problems, your worries, your issues. How could it be that a Jew prays Shema Kolenu and he doesn't stop before Ki Ata Shomea Tefilat Kol Peh? Abba, I'm being Mekayim now, the mitzvah of Hashlech al Hashem Yahavcha. I am throwing onto you my problems. I'm throwing onto you this problem I'm dealing with. I'm throwing onto you that issue I'm dealing with. I'm throwing onto you this deal. I'm throwing onto you this worry. I'm throwing onto you this problem. I'm throwing onto you this issue, and I'm relying on you to take care of it for me with your plan. I'm in your hands. Ani bayadayim shel Abba. And I'm going to continue to thank you and thank you and thank you for taking care of all my issues today. You're the one that's driving the bus. I'm only a passenger. I finally realized that in life. I'm giving up the control. Kagamul ale imo. I'm like an infant in its mother's arms. I have no issues because I'm relying completely on you for everything. The minute you drop everybody else in between and you go straight to the source, you wouldn't believe what can happen. Like that famous Maisa with the Kutzker Rebbe, Gadol Ador. And his sister traveled from the other side of Europe to visit her brother. And there was a long line of people waiting for the Bitachon of the Kutzker. And they came from all over the continent just to get the blessings of the Yeshuot of the Kutzker Rebbe. And his sister finally waits her turn. And she comes into her brother that she hasn't seen for a long time. And she starts crying to him, Rebbe, du bist mein Bruder. Give me a bracha that I should be saved from this problem. And he looks at her and he says, I'm sorry, I can't help you. She said, what? I traveled from the other side of Europe. I'm your sister. Everybody else that comes knocking on your door, you receive them. You give them berachot. You give them chizuk. You give them yeshuot. And me, your sister, you can't help? She burst out crying. He He says, I'm sorry, I can't help. She walks outside and she gives a scream. Eibishter, Borei Olam, not even my brother wants to help me. I have nobody else but you. Just then the Kutzker opens the door and he calls his sister, now come inside. Now I can help you. You were relying on me because I'm your brother. And because of that, you weren't going to get anything. Now that you let go of all your preconceived notions, your control, your plans, and now you're only going to rely on Borei Olam, now you're going to get a Yeshua. Now come inside. Now I can give you Bitachon, because now you're relying on Borei Olam. Ay, ay, ay. What can I tell you? How many things, how many times Hashem showed us in life that just when we thought things were going to run one way, and it turned out so the opposite. We should be zochet to this incredible level. At the end of days, it's literally the ashmora of the tinok sheyonek meshedeh imo. We are an infant in Abba's hands. Abba, ani bayadayim shelcha. I know that people tonight were waiting for a lot of stories coming back from Eretz Yisrael, and I bedafka did not give the stories tonight. As we go on, Be'ezat Hashem, I'll tell you about this incredible trip. But more than anything, I want you to know that this trip was Borei Olam from beginning to end. We saw the Yad Hashem from the minute we got on the flight to the minute we came back and landed. Borei Olam, ani bayadayim shelcha. And that's the moment of Yeshuot. Thank you for listening.